All right, it's 1 on the dot, and this is being recorded, so we're just going to go ahead and start it out. Thanks for joining our first webinar of 2022. We have an entire lineup of webinars coming this year for members only. So for one, thank you for being a BSD client. We love helping schools get more leads, which in turn gets you more enrollments. I'm Jen Lyles, and I am the Executive Director of Beauty School Marketing Group. And we own Beauty School Directory. That is one of our products, one of our biggest products that you guys are familiar with. And we'll be launching some new things this year. So more to come on that. But some of the things that I want to do this year with our membership is to provide a resource to make sure that you guys are working these leads properly and that you're working them well. Because if your conversion goes up, you're going to get more students, and that's of course better for us, and that's better for our audience, for the people who land on our website. So essentially, Beauty School Directory, of course, is a directory where leads can choose an interest, whether it's cosmetology, aesthetics, barbering, nail tech, or makeup. And then we match these potential leads with schools. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over how leads are generated on our website and then how we distribute them. And we're going to focus most of our time on admissions best practices for working these leads, ways that you can get exclusive leads beyond BSD, and then calculating your success rate, because we want to make sure the ROI is there. So a lot of people will ask us, I'm not really sure if it's worth spending more money. How do I calculate that? So we're going to teach you guys how to do that today. If you have questions, try to save them for the end or pop them in the chat. And at the end, I will get to them. But it's just distracting for me to open them as I'm talking. So I'm just going to kind of go through everything. And then if you guys have questions, I'm here for you. Or if you want to chat after the webinar, you can book some time on my calendar, and I would love to chat with your team. Some super exciting news. We have created a playbook, a BSD playbook on how to effectively work BSD leads. So everyone who's on this webinar and our entire membership will be getting a copy of this playbook. And then, of course, it accompanies this webinar. So I'm going to kind of explain what's in this playbook for you guys. And then you're going to have a copy of this so that as you add new team members to your school, or you're just sort of refining your processes, you can look at this playbook to make sure you guys are doing things effectively. So let's go ahead and jump into the first part, which is how leads are generated. And I'm pretty sure everyone on here knows, but in case you don't, we're just going to kind of top level go through how we get leads. It's through search. That's it. We don't have Facebook ads, social ads, driving people to the BSD site. It's literally just through Google search. So historically, for years, BSD has done a great job with keyword searches and their SEO to make sure that when someone is typing something in, looking for a school in their area, that BSD shows up pretty high, at least on page 1, organically, sometimes through paid. So these leads are essentially just typing in aesthetic school, cosmetology school, beauty school near me. And just a reminder, right, they're on Google. So when someone's just searching something, this usually means they're top of funnel. And I talk about this a lot when I train schools, is that everyone who purchases something, whether it's a bottle of water, a pair of jeans, a gym membership, or even school, you will fall in different areas of a sales funnel. And the further down in the funnel you get, the more likely you are to make that decision to buy the gym membership or the bottle of water or school. And so the higher you are, it's going to take a little bit of time and some really good sales or admissions tactics to bring people further down in a funnel. That being said, when someone is on Google and they're just randomly searching something like cosmetology school, they are using very general industry terms, and they're choosing not to go to a school website. So I do this a lot of times when I'm just, searching for a new place to go eat with my husband, right? Like I'll just Google, I don't know, like 15 restaurants in Nashville or best sushi in Nashville or something like that. And instead of going to 15 different websites and checking out menus, I'll go to a directory like a Yelp or something like that. That is what these leads are doing. They're going to a directory where they are not physically going to every website of schools that are in their area. They're on a directory. They have not committed to a school or a brand. So let's walk you guys through what that funnel looks like. Okay, this is what the BSD lead, the prospect, does before the lead gets to you. They choose on the drop down what area, main area of interest for them, and then they put in their zip code, and then they have the option to choose additional programs. So other areas of interest. And we do this for a lot of reasons. For one, if you're very top of funnel, sometimes you don't know what you want. Sometimes you don't know the difference. You might not know if something requires a license or what that state requires for how long something has to be. So oftentimes we're giving them the opportunity to say, okay, what other areas of interest do you have? They then choose what year they're graduating or have already graduated or received their GED, how soon they're looking to start school. Most of our traffic chooses one of those first two, either immediately or 1 to 3 months. And then they put in their name, their email, and then their phone number. You will notice that this is an 8-step form. It's not all on one page. It's literally 8 different steps that someone has to go through. So compare that to your own website, right? Your own website probably just has a very small lead form of name, phone number, email, and you might have, choose a campus, and you might have choose a program if you have multiple programs and if you have multiple campuses. And so what BSD is doing is we just want to make sure we're weeding people out, right? Someone is going through the full funnel. These are people who are pretty serious. I mean, to continue to give information, that's a lot for leads today. People don't like to give out their information online. So the fact is there are a lot of really good potential leads out there filling out these forms. So once they hit see matches, what happens? This is when we match schools and they get distributed to you. So the prospective student is then matched with a school nearest to them that offers those programs that they chose back on that first area of the funnel. Only BSD member schools are displayed here. So your competitor may or may not be a BSD member. So that is dependent, on who shows up on this page, if they offer even programs that person is choosing. And then they are matched with the zip code closest to them. Or of course, as a school, you've already given us the zip codes that you want us to focus on. Some schools choose their zip code and say, we want leads within a 20-mile radius. Some schools give us directly, I want you to be targeting these specific zip codes. That's up to you as a client. And if that's something new that you want to look at in 2022, feel free to do that. We're here to make your campaign successful. So that's up to you guys, what you think would be the most successful. Then they're delivered instantly. Okay, so as soon as they hit finish, those leads are sent to those schools straight to their CRM or straight to their email or both, depending on how you have that set up. So every school has an approved budget with us. And once your budget runs out, you are then removed from our directory for that matching process. So you will no longer show up here. Of course, we always reach out to the schools to let them know, hey, it's still a week left in the month. And if you want to stay on our directory, we need more budget. Otherwise, you come back on in the very next month. So that's essentially how that works. Let's talk a little bit about share rate, because I know a lot of schools are like, cool, so BSD goes to 15 different schools in my area. So I'm fighting with 15 different admissions reps. That's not exactly how it works. So for starters, the maximum number of schools we ever show someone is 4, never more than 4. And we're going to choose that, of course, based on programs and then what schools they're closest to with their zip code. Secondly, the average share rate is 1.5. So it's not often that people are seeing, in this instance, 3 or, sometimes 4. On average, leads see about 1 to 2 schools. So that's generally how that works. But what I really want to talk about with you guys, because I think a lot of you already knew how we generated leads, is some best practices. Because we want to make sure that you're successful with working these leads. And of course, it all comes down to admissions. You are the first impression of your school. You are the rapport builder, the relationship builder. So we want to make sure you work these leads effectively. And some of these strategies, of course, are going to be good for all leads that come into your system, but some of them are going to be very specific to the leads that come from BSD. So first of all, be quick. As soon as someone is transferred to you, as soon as you get the email, as soon as you get the message in the CRM, the notification, you have to be quick, because sometimes it is 2 schools going after that lead, or sometimes it's just 1. And, the person who requested information is on to searching for nursing schools 2 days later. So you have to be quick to the game. Secondly, and this all kind of goes together with being quick, is you want to have automation set up. For schools that have a CRM, when a lead comes into your system, you should automatically be having something that goes out to them, like an email. And I'm going to talk about that on the next slide as far as what to say, a text message, calling, automatically have that lead assigned to an admissions rep and a notification to that rep to immediately reach out to them. All of this can happen instantly. And especially if someone's requesting information at 9 o'clock at night, when you're not there, they need to be getting something. So an email is usually best. Have something set up automatically. If you don't have a CRM, we can do that for you. You have the option to have an automatic email and or text message sent straight to that lead. So just get with us and we would love to set that up for you. That is always an option, and there's no extra charge for that. You want to make sure, though, that you are careful with your verbiage. I just went over how these leads are generated. They were not on your school website. If you're not a household big chain name, this lead may have never heard of you. So when you reach out to them and you're like, hey, I'm Jen with Jen's Beauty School. I saw you requested information about our school. They're like, who? What? No, that never happened. I don't know who you are. Well, yeah, because they were never on my website. So you just need to be a little careful with how you're reaching out to these leads and what you're saying. I'm going to put that we're going to talk about that on the next slide. But for starters, if you do set up an automatic text message or something like that, something very simple like, hey, it's Jen with Jen's Beauty. I just received your request that you might be interested in our cosmetology program. Someone from our admissions team will be reaching out to you shortly. You can always visit our website or call me directly. Just something short and sweet like that, where you're allowing that lead to get in contact with you. You're giving them, maybe your website, because that didn't happen on the Beauty School Directory website. So just make sure you're reaching out immediately and that you're speaking their language, and you're very careful with your verbiage, not to be super specific with your school. Okay. Don't assume. I have 4 things I want to go over with things you should not assume about these leads. And then we're going to go over things to say to them. So first of all, don't assume that people are ready to start immediately. Yes, people are choosing on the drop down that they're ready to start immediately, but we all know that doesn't happen. It's like January 1st when you're like, I'm ready to lose 30 pounds. And then, you quickly determined that was a lie when the weekend came and you wanted to go to Waffle House. I don't know if you have those by where you live, but I love a good Waffle House. So you need to make sure that you are working these leads for a while. They do not convert right away. Going to school is a big thing. I mean, some people need to set up daycare. Maybe they have to quit a job, take out a loan. There's a lot of hoops that people have to go through. And oftentimes in admissions, because we're trying to make our next class start, those goals, if someone's not ready to start, they're kind of dead to us and we're on to the next hot lead. And so these leads sometimes take a little longer, sometimes 60 to 90 days, sometimes 120 days. So you need to make sure you are reaching out to them consistently. You have a drip campaign going out to them. Make sure you're texting, them weekly, monthly to stay top of mind. Just because they say they're ready to start immediately doesn't mean they are. So you have to continuously work these leads. Don't assume that people are familiar with your brand. So again, they were on a directory. Not everyone knows every school. And I know because you work there and because you are in a circle of friends who know your school, you just assume everyone knows who you are. People just don't. They're oblivious to that kind of stuff. So you need to make sure when you're reaching out to a lead, you aren't dropping things like assuming they know that you have job placement. That's not something that a lot of people know. Assuming that they know that you have night classes, they may have never gone on your website. So don't assume people know everything about your brand, including your brand name. So even just saying something like, hey, I'm Jen with Jen's Beauty School. I know you're interested in possibly going to school to study cosmetology. That is a program we offer. Do you have any questions about it? Make sure you are educating people about your brand and the industry. Because again, these are top of funnel leads. Don't assume that people know which program they want. They have the option to choose multiple programs. I worked in a beauty school for years, and I can't tell you how many times I heard that people don't know the difference between cosmetology and aesthetics. Happens all the time. In fact, if it's your lead form on your website, you would do well to put hair in parentheses next to cosmetology and skincare next to aesthetics in parentheses on your drop down for choosing a program, because a lot of people don't know. And some people, say they're interested in makeup, but then they realize, oh, that's not an actual license you get. This is just some extra education. I can get a cosmetology license and open up a salon and do makeup. So a lot of people just don't know these things. So you need to explain it to them. They don't know which program they want. Maybe they came in as a nail lead, but from talking to you realized, if I just do cosmetology, I can knock off cosmetology, aesthetics, and nails and makeup, like all under the same licensure. That makes more sense to me. So make sure we are more like a guidance counselor in figuring out people's passions and making sure they understand their options. Don't assume just because someone doesn't respond right away that they aren't interested. That's just how it works. People request information and get afraid. They requested it because they're thinking it's going to be emailed to them. And then all of a sudden people are calling them. Then all of a sudden people are texting and they're freaking out because they aren't ready for this kind of commitment. It doesn't mean they aren't interested. Sometimes it means your script isn't great. And I know that's not a popular thing to say, but when we really dig into why people are ghosting us, it's often because we're coming off very pushy and we're going straight to an ask. So let's get in what to say right now. First of all, email. I love an auto email sent directly to every lead. You should have one set up for each of your programs. And this should include top level stuff, right? Like cosmetology, this is what you learn in the program. This is how much it is. These are our options for financing. Maybe we have a scholarship. These are our class schedules, very sort of like frequently asked questions about the program. You should have a program email set up, and that's kind of what goes out right away. Next, you should be calling them first. This should be the first thing you do. It's historically the best thing to do is to call a lead because it builds rapport, and the goal is a tour. Okay. I say that all the time whenever I teach admissions reps, whenever I talk with marketing, the goal is a tour. I don't care how that happens. I don't care if it's via email, if it's a call, if it's a text. I don't care how, if it's a fax machine, I don't care what it is. The goal is the tour. So that phone call should be able to build rapport, and it should end with, I would love to show you around our school. Would you like to come in for a tour? You can bring a friend or a parent. I can answer your questions. How does Tuesday work? I have a 10 and 2 available. You should always be pushing people to a tour. Call first, even if they don't answer, and then text second. People are more likely to respond if you text them. They're more likely to respond to your text message if you call first. There's a reason for that. Because they don't want to talk to you on the phone. Because they're afraid, oh my gosh, this chick just called me and I do not want to get on the phone with her. Let me text her back or she's going to keep calling me. So you should, even if your team says no one answers the phone, we're only texting, I am telling you right now, people are more likely to text you back if you call first because they're afraid you're going to call for the second time. So call first and then text them. I love a text that is more open-ended. The point of the text is what? To get a tour. And a mistake that some schools are making, unpopular opinion, is that we're jumping to the tour ask on the very first text. Put yourself into the shoes of a BSD lead, okay? Let's say you're at work and you hate your job. You're like sitting at a desk. You're like, oh my gosh, I hate my boss. I hate this job. I hate everything in my life. I want to go to beauty school. And you just randomly search cosmetology schools near me. You find the BSD page, you fill out the form. You don't know what's going on behind the scenes. All of this is happening. That lead goes directly to a school and the school texts me and says, hey, Jen, got your information. I'm super excited to meet you. The next step is a tour. Come in. When are you available? And you're like, that was quick. Holy crap. I'm just like at a job that I don't love. And now they're asking me to come into the school. That sounds so official. That sounds like a lot. Oh my goodness. That is a big step for people to make. There was zero rapport building. You just jumped straight to the ask. And I got to tell you, if someone is very interested in going to school, they're going to say, great. And this is the problem I run into, is that some reps see success with that type of text message. And so because of that, they think that works for every lead. It's not the best type of text to send to every lead, especially a BSD lead. The point is a tour. So don't just jump to the tour. If you were dating someone, if you were in the market to date someone, and maybe you're like on Tinder or some app, I don't know, I'm married, I don't know what's out there anymore, probably Tinder. Okay, so let's say you're on Tinder and you get matched with someone and the first message is, hey, do you want to do dinner tonight at 7? Oh my goodness, are they a serial killer? I know nothing about them. That's you. That's what you're doing as soon as you text someone and you're like, hey, let's meet. When you got, like, let's do this. We have got to start a conversation. So in that dating scenario, obviously it would be better if they were like, hey, what are you into? What are your interests? I don't know. I don't know how to date, guys. I'm just making up stuff. But you would build rapport. You would talk about things that you have in common. So instead of jumping to the ask, try a softer approach. Something along the lines of like, how long have you been interested in going to school? How long have you been thinking about beauty? You know, just something to get them talking. That's a lot like less salesy and can lead to something. Hey, it's Jen with Jen's Beauty School. I saw that you might be interested in cosmetology. How long have you been thinking about going to hair school? Oh, I've been wanting to do this since I was a kid. Oh, we hear that all the time. I love when people finally pursue their passions. Have a back and forth. The next step would be to come in and see the school. Would love to show it to you. Just sound less salesy and more like a friend. And again, yes, you can be that authority figure, but you have to build rapport. And the reason people aren't showing up for appointments is because we're not building rapport. And I hear this all the time too. Like, show rates are going down. Like, back in the day, it was like 60, 70%. Today, it's like 50, 40%, sometimes even smaller than that. And it's because we didn't build rapport. We just jumped to the ask. Just like I'm going to ghost that guy for dinner because he didn't get to know me, people are going to ghost you because you didn't get to know them and you didn't build a relationship with them. Lastly, don't give up. Just because you texted them or called them and they didn't answer, oh, they're a terrible lead. Oh, they're never going to enroll. No, maybe we just need to change what we're saying. Try a different approach. Change your script. I wanted to let you know we just had a new scholarship that launched yesterday. Do you want to see if you qualify? Just ask questions to get people to talk. Share interesting things about your school. Don't give up. That first week, you should be reaching out pretty regularly until you get a hold of them. And then, of course, that is going to die down a little bit. Once a week for the first month, at least, would be ideal. That first week, you want to hit them a few times. But after that first month of trying to get in contact with them, if they're ghosting you, move them into a drip campaign in your CRM and make sure you're sending them something interesting on a monthly basis or a bi-weekly basis. I missed the slide for this, so let me just tell you straight up. The other admissions tip I have is to stay organized. So a lot of times schools don't have a CRM, so it's up to you to be putting these leads into a spreadsheet and keeping good notes on them. Please, 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 if you do not have a CRM, make sure you have some processes at your school where you are putting leads in a certain place, where you're keeping notes on them, you're keeping track of the source, whether it was BSD or a referral or a website, because you have to stay organized so that later we can calculate the success rate of all of your initiatives that you're doing. Let's talk a little bit about beyond BSD leads. BSD leads are great. Because we get tens of thousands of students a month, potential students coming to the website to fill out forms, that's great. But another great avenue is doing campaigns that are more exclusive to your school. So I want to make sure you guys know that the two major options out there digitally, and that is search campaigns and social campaigns. If this is something you're interested in, please shoot me a DM later on LinkedIn or email me, call me, text me, whatever. We can talk about this because this is something we can do with some budgets. We can add this on to your BSD package. And it's simply creating a landing page for your school and driving search campaigns to that landing page that is that it's branded, where they're a little more familiar with your school. They're specifically searching out your school. And we do this through search, through Google PPC ads, and then also social campaigns. So if you are looking to generate leads on Facebook and Instagram, which is where a lot of your leads are living today, we will create really great video ads and we will target your perfect demographic and we will drive leads there. And again, these leads are, remember we talked about the funnel at the beginning, they're a little further down. They're a little more familiar with your brand, which makes them a very high intent lead. These are great leads for your reps to be working. So don't just rely on BSD. You should definitely be doing some search and social. And if you need help with that, we can help you. Let's talk about the ROI and your success rate. Okay. You want to be analyzing your cost per enrollment. So back in the day when I was a marketing director, we were so focused on cost per lead. Like that's all I ever talked about in meetings. It was like, what's your cost per lead? What's your cost per lead? Was it on Facebook? Was it on Google? What is it on this? Cost per leads are okay to analyze, but your cost per enrollment is what I would be more focused on. So your cost per enrollment is essentially what your total spend is. And I like to do it by quarter. You can do it monthly, or again, I like to do it by quarter because sometimes it takes longer for leads to enroll. So let's say your monthly spend over the course of a month versus how many enrollments you got. You want to divide that. You want to divide that number into that number to see how much it costs you to get an enrollment. And I have a specific example on the next slide. But just a reminder here for BSD. 90% of BSD users have not completed a form on your school website in the past 30 days. So some of them may have requested information like a year ago or 6 months ago, but for the most part, the majority of our traffic does not go on school websites to fill out forms. This is an important stat because these are leads you could not and will not have generated on your own. So this is why I love to diversify funds when it comes to being a marketing director or a president of a school. You want to make sure you're not putting all of your money on Google, all of your money on Facebook. You want to make sure you're putting it in different areas. And the reason you should be investing in BSD is because these are leads you would not have got on your own. These are leads that are choosing to go to a directory. So you would not have been able to generate this lead. So it's important that you invest in it. Okay, here's the example. And I don't know what you, I just have $24 a lead here, like as an example. So let's go over the ROI. Your school spends, let's say you've decided your budget is $2,000 a month and you are paying $24 per lead. So over the course of 1 quarter, you have generated 250 leads with that $6,000 budget, okay? Out of those 250 leads, let's say 8 of them enrolled. That is a 3% conversion, 8 out of 250, which is generally where a lot of schools are. Some are higher, some are lower. The ones that are higher have really, really good admission strategies. The ones that are lower sometimes don't. And that's why we created this playbook and that's why we're doing this webinar, because we want to see your conversion rates go through the roof. That would be the goal. Regardless, even if you have a 1% conversion rate, still do the math. It's probably still worth it. So in this example, you have spent $6,000 and you got 8 enrollments. Okay. So 6,000 divided by 8 is 750. So your cost per enrollment is $750. Was that worth it? Generally, it's worth it. So a good cost per enrollment is usually 10% of your tuition. So if your cosmetology tuition is $20,000, $2,000 for a cost per enrollment or under is great. And I see a lot of schools aim for $1,000, $1,200 as their goal for a cost per enrollment. And I think that's fantastic. That's also going to fluctuate on certain quarters. It's going to fluctuate depending on how much you're forced to spend during some months. But again, keeping that like 10% of tuition as your target is great. So if that goal is $2,000, in this example, your cost per enrollment is $750. if I'm you, oh my goodness, you're doing great. Up your budget, spend more money, get more leads, get more enrollments. If your conversion rate is pretty good with BSD leads and you are seeing a pretty, low cost per enrollment, it's a great time to go back to your budget and say, we need to up it. We're only spending $750 to get 20,000. So I would say, at least from the schools I've spoken to and my experience working in schools who have used BSD leads, it is 100% a smart investment. It's a smart investment, of course, to be diversifying your funds and using different areas, different sources, different marketing channels. But as far as BSD goes, if I'm a school owner, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do this calculation for the quarter and then like for the whole year. So I would go back and look in 2021 to see how much money I spent total on leads and how many enrollments came from that and see what your cost per enrollment is. If it's under 10%, I would consider upping my budget. And that is how to effectively work BSD leads. The most important thing is to make sure we are staying very general with our verbiage and to make sure we are booking tours and saying engaging things to build rapport to get to the tour. You can't always jump straight to the tour, you guys. That is not the most effective thing to do with leads that are high in the funnel. That is my information. So feel free to email me at jen.lyles@beautyschools.com. If I haven't met you yet, I would love to. I'm newer to the BSD team, so I would love to meet you guys. That's also my phone number, so feel free to text or call me and we can chat about this or anything else related to beauty school admissions or marketing. And please follow me on LinkedIn. Please add me. I love making connections in this industry. I daily pretty much share tips for marketing for schools, so please check me out there. All right, if anyone has any questions, please pop into the chat, questions or comments, and I will get to those. And if not, this session is being recorded and all of you guys will get a copy of this to share with your team. And of course, you'll get a copy of the BSD playbook. It's just a PDF file that you can print out in-house or just keep the PDF available on your desktop. Anything else, you guys? Any questions? We don't have anything. Okay, that was easy. I want you guys to join us for our next webinar. It is going to be a really good one. It is February 9th. Anthony Civitano, who is the former school owner of 8 beauty schools in the New York and Florida area. He also served as executive director at AACS and is the co-founder of the Salon HQ app. He's actually going to be doing a webinar with me on February 9th about the Great Resignation and all the schools out there that are facing lots of turnover and where to find really great talent and how you build a really great culture to keep talent. So please join us for that and check out our upcoming webinars. We have at least one a month. I think the schedule is pretty much every 3 to 4 weeks. Thanks, you guys. Have a good day.